In a recent interview on the Dan Le Batard show, Tua Tagovailoa recounts the differences between his former head coach Brian Flores and the coaching styles of Mike McDaniels. I'll play the clip for you here and give you some background, and then we can get into the details.
To put it in simplest terms, if you woke up every morning and I told you you sucked at what you did, that you don't belong doing what you do, that you shouldn't be here, that this guy should be here, that you haven't earned this right, and then you have somebody else come in and tell you, dude, you are the best fit for this. Like, you are accurate, you are the best whatever, you are this, you are that. Like, how would it make you feel listening to one or the other? You see what I'm saying? And then you hear it, regardless of what it is, the good or the bad. And you hear it more and more, you start to actually believe that. I don't care who you are. You could be the president of the United States. You have a terrible person that's telling you things that you don't want to hear, or that you probably shouldn't be hearing. You're gonna start to believe that about yourself. And so that's sort of like what ended up happening. And it was, I mean, it's basically been 2 years of training that out of not just me, but a couple of the guys as well that have been here since my rookie year all the way till now.
Now, about a couple seasons ago, Brian Flores was fired from the Miami Dolphins, and they brought in Mike McDaniels to take over. Brian Flores has been with the New England Patriots as a defensive assistant, never was given the title of defensive coordinator, but as a key part in them winning Super Bowl 53 and stopping the LA Rams' high potent offense that year. He took the gig down in Miami, and a couple years into his tenure, he was not really having consistent quarterback play with Ryan Fitzpatrick at the helm. And in the 2020 offseason, there was a big tug of war between him and ownership, Stephen Ross. Ross wanted Tua, but Brian Flores wanted Justin Herbert. And at the end of the day, ownership wins. They bring in Tua with the 5th pick overall, and we see that Justin Herbert is a LA Charger. Now, early on, of course, the immediate returns was indicating that Justin Herbert was well worth the selection at number 5. He was Rookie of the Year, and many thought that Tua was looking like a bust. And after missing about half of his rookie year, he came in. He struggled a little bit, but got the Dolphins in position to make the playoffs. All they had to do is win a game in Buffalo, where Buffalo would probably be resting their starters since they already clinched the division and didn't want to risk anybody getting hurt for a playoff run. Now, Tua didn't do that well, ended up missing the playoffs, and they had to reset, come in next year, and yet again, they fell short, and at the end of the day, Brian Flores is out, and we see Mike McDaniels being brought in. Now, we do know that Brian Flores is from the Bill Belichick tree, and they have a particular way of doing things. They coach hard, they focus on defense, and there are certain times where you can see that Belichickian type of mindset was brought out in Brian Flores, and he was a guy that coached hard, and that was something where the line was crossed between coaching hard and being disrespectful, because I don't think Tua is soft by any means. I think his play definitely relegates him to being in certain conditions in football, whether it's warm and sunny down in Miami, and his play kind of staggers as the season gets into the wintry months. But him as a person, he was under Nick Saban out in Alabama, and Nick Saban is probably one of the hardest coaches in college football. So Tua knows how to take a tongue lashing. He knows how to take harsh criticism or have somebody breathing down your neck and being aggressive. And I think that when Tua was referring to some of Brian Flores, he called him a terrible person without actually directly naming Brian Flores, but we know it was directed at Brian Flores. How he sucks. He said that Brian Flores told him that he sucks. He's not who he wanted, because remember that Flores wanted Herbert, not Tua. And that absolutely weighs on you, and that's where that line was crossed of hard coaching and disrespect. I feel that Brian Flores was just very frustrated with ownership, and he took it out on Tua, and that was the wrong way to do things. I appreciate hard coaching, don't get me wrong. I think players shouldn't be coddled, they should be coached hard, and especially the players who want to be coached hard, those are the players that you know are going to go far. But I also think that respect at the end of the day is very, very important. And I think some of the best teachers take out coaching, learn how their students respond to certain teaching styles. And the best teacher is a teacher that can adapt his or her lesson plan on the fly, because I understand it is very difficult. A football team is made up of 53 men, and it is full of different personalities, and you can't customize it down to that level. But when you have your starting quarterback not responding to your coaching, you're probably going to have to change it up a little bit. I'm not saying change your identity, but you're going to have to compromise a little bit. See how Tua responds to things. And Mike McDaniel is probably the polar opposite of Brian Flores. I mean, he's an offensive guy. He's a little witty. He's great with the media and with Tua as well. He's a guy that brings him up, and while that's been great, it still hasn't translated to the actual numbers in the postseason. We've seen just one postseason appearance, and Tua's durability is something else in question, which we like to see him be more durable in the future. But it certainly has had an improvement on Tua's play as he led the league in passing yards last season. Could Tua have phrased things differently? Absolutely. I think when he got the bag, he's here now to cast out any hate against any of his former haters or doubters and say, look, I belong in this league. I got paid and I'm here to stay. And I know the haters can come back and say, well, okay, you had a loaded system and your play clearly diminishes come postseason time, or at least when it gets colder. So both sides are still very much have some rights and they have some wrongs. We saw when Brian Flores was brought up to questions, his defensive players were there supporting him, right there beside him in the press conference. It was really nice, wholesome moment there. And Brian honestly took it with grace. He took the high road and he appreciated his time. He never spoke ill of Tua at all. I wish things were handled a little bit less personally, because to say somebody's a terrible person is probably a little bit too far, but maybe phrasing it a certain way could have been better, and we'll see how this transpires. I mean, now Coach Flores is going to be leading a Minnesota Vikings defense with some good talent there, but we don't know if his head coaching career will ever be the same, if he even gets another gig. And it's all going to be on Tua now to deliver after being paid and now being in year 3 of the Mike McDaniel system. Let's see how his play can reflect not only in the regular season but the postseason.